Well, one thing's for certain, certainly, because finding yourself waking up midweek is always a good thing, because half the week is gone. It takes you off the stress which you would encounter on a Monday, and you know that the weekend isn't too far away. And of course, it is a Wednesday morning. It is the 8th of May, and you're watching Good Morning Sri Lanka with me, Wasam Ismail, on MTV Sports. And of course, as usual, this Wednesday morning, just as any day in Good Morning Sri Lanka, we've got content for you. Lots of interesting stuff from all around the world. We'll be discussing a few ongoing trends in discussion which is happening globally. So do stay tuned during the show in all three of the segments. And of course, we'll be talking a little bit about the building collapse in Bangladesh, a few updates about that, and of course we all know about the bomb that exploded in Bangalore, and we've got a few updates on that. And of course there is a lot of talk lately about the Israeli attacks on Syria, so we're going to touch a little bit on that and some other interesting things as well. But of course, to start off the show, once again I am going to start off with a few tips on a positive note that could help you get by every day. Now, these particular tips are actually on how you can actually make your mornings, start your mornings quite productive, and as a result to have the entire day being quite productive. And they say if you use this during the earlier hours of the day, it could actually give your day a very productive, great, accomplished start. So I'm just going to take you through some of these tips I've got here. I'm going to read them out to you. So the first one is to get an early start. Now, of course, all of us, many of us, rather, we do like to sleep in a little late. But of course, if you're here this morning watching the show, which means you're having a great start because you are up quite early. Now, this extra time will help you avoid reckless driving, tardiness, and other unnecessary headaches. Now, we as Sri Lankans, we know that our traffic situation is not the greatest, especially when we are if we've woken up late and we're trying to rush it to work in the morning, we do drive quite recklessly, and that is something that can be avoided amongst a lot of other things. In addition, most markets and businesses open by about 8:39 a.m. Whether you work from home or commute to an office, the more time you've had to digest the day's news and obstacles ahead, the greater advantage you'll have over your competition. Now, the other thing is the second tip is to review your focus list. Now, what is your number one goal right now? Right? What's most important to you? What makes you happy? Design your time around these things. Remember, time is your greatest limited resource. Now, because no matter how hard you try, you can't work, as some people say, 25/8. Not 24/7, 25/8. Now, you need to also review your to-don't list, which is the third point, right? To-don't list is a list of things not to do. Of course, we are all familiar with the to-do list, but right now we're going to talk to you about the to-don't list. Now, it might seem amusing, but it's an incredibly useful tool for keeping track of unproductive habits. And of course, this is a habit which we all have, especially in this day and age with social media taking up. We like checking Facebook and Twitter, randomly browsing news websites, but sometimes we just tend to do it too randomly that it could actually hinder our work process and our work flow during the day. So create one to-don't list and post it up in your workspace where you can see it. The other thing is, of course, it's been something tested, proven, and it's been talked about all around the past during the last so many years, and it is, of course, exercise. Now, other than the obvious health benefits, movement increases brain function and decreases stress levels. Developing a consistent habit of exercising is a discipline which will carry over into your business day. Now, the Apple CEO Tim Cook is in the gym by 5 a.m. and needless to say, he is one successful gentleman who is internationally recognized, used in most of our marketing case studies, and a lot of other things. So needless to say, the man's up by 5 a.m. and he's at the gym, so you know how productive his day is. So if you can go outside for a walk or jump on the treadmill and start out slow, this will jumpstart your metabolism and your day. Now, the next point is to, of course, again, I know a lot of people would have spoke to you about this, you would have read about this so many times, but I'm going to reinforce this point. It is to eat a healthy breakfast. Now, your brain and body speed are a function of what you intake. Now, food with like lots of sugars have the tendency to slow you down. Fruits, proteins and grains help provide a consistent stream of energy without the sudden drop off. Now, try a mixture of orange, apple or lemon juice with a spinach omelette one morning and you will definitely feel the difference. Now, the other point is to maybe kiss or hug your partner goodbye. Now, it sounds cheesy, but most truly successful people have a home life. Now, acknowledging your partner and kids mentally relaxes you, allowing you to focus on the day ahead. Now, don't lose sight of the fact that you're striving to be successful, so they may benefit as well, right? This is actually something a lot of people, especially in our culture, we don't tend to practice it a lot, but then psychologically it is proven and it is supposed to help you have a great start to the day. Now, the seventh point which I'm going to talk to you on is practice 15 minutes of positive visualization. Now, I don't know how creative you are. You don't need to be necessarily too creative to do it, because all of us, we do have a functioning brain which allows us to imagine, to visualize. So in this program, Get the Edge, which is done by Tony Robbins, explains the importance of gratitude visualization first thing every morning. Now, in a nutshell, spend roughly 15 minutes thinking of everything you're grateful for in yourself, among your family and friends, in your career and the like. After that, visualize everything you want in your life as if you had it today. Now, the effect: elevated certainty in everything you do, and always being in peak state. Despite how new age it sounds, it has incredible effects on associating success, right? And the eighth point which I'm going to talk to you about is put first things first. Now, successful people recognize that not all hours are created equal. Now, and they strategically account for this when planning their day. Now, for most of us, our minds operate at peak performance in the morning hours when we are well rested. So obviously it would be foolish to use this time for a trivial task like reading emails. These peak performance hours should be 100% dedicated to working on tasks that bring you closer to your goals. So in your morning hours is when you can focus the most, so all your important things you need to put it right at the early hours of that time. And the other one, eat that frog, right? Now, I know what you're thinking. I did say eat that frog. Hear me out, right? Brian Tracy's classic time management book, Eat That Frog, gets its title from a Mark Twain quote that says, if you eat a live frog first thing in the morning, you've got it behind you for the rest of the day and nothing else will be more difficult. So it's a metaphor. I don't necessarily mean to take a frog and eat it. What it means, in other words, is get the tough stuff done first. Now, I've got two more points which I'm going to share with you, and the other point is to connect with the right people. Now, relationships are the basis of business. Communication is the basis of relationships. Successful people associate with people who are like-minded, focused and supportive. Now, these people create energy when they enter the room versus those who create energy when they leave. Now, connecting with these positive people in the morning can set you up for a positive day. And the final point which I'm going to bring to you is a very important point, which is actually to stay informed. It's actually quite important to be with the current news. So one great thing you're doing right now is waking up early in the morning and watching Good Morning Sri Lanka on MTV Sports. So to stay informed with you, prefer National Public Radio or the Wall Street Journal. Spend a few minutes each morning learning about what is going on in the world. Not only will it educate you, it may change your perspective or inspire your actions for the day. But of course here we don't look in much on the Wall Street Journal, but there are lots of local sources that you can look into, which can keep you informed. Well, those are the last of the tips that I have for you, and of course, like I said, we are going to move into some different topics right now, and I'm going to take you into Senegal. Now, in Senegal, apparently, even if the clothes they wear aren't brand new, and if it is shipped there, and if it's trendy, and if it's fashionable, you can still market it in Senegal, and we've got a little video on that, so I'd like you to check that out.
It doesn't matter if it's been worn before. If it's intact, cheap and fashionable, it will make for lucrative business in the informal clothes stalls of Senegal's capital, Dakar. Colombian market is a main port of call for these thrifty threads. According to retailers, a bundle of second-hand clothes that cost them between $50 to $100 can fetch a profit of more than $200. The clothing comes from England, United States or Italy. Generally, it's a large importers who furnish us, and we on our side are just small business owners. The beginning of the school year is a busy season for clothes sellers. At Colombian, as parents dig their hands into heaps of wrinkled and carelessly arranged garments to stock up their children's closets. Most shoppers say that they prefer buying their clothes in the market rather than formal shops. Second-hand clothes are of high quality in general. The new clothes are made in China and they are quickly ruined after being washed twice. So what lasts longer, a child can wear then pass on to his little brother. The UN estimates 60 to 80% of clothes in Africa are bought second-hand. Critics say that used clothing has led to the demise of local fabric manufacturers in most countries on the continent. Senegal's textile industry employed just over 1,000 people today from a peak of 6,000 in the 1970s. Despite the thriving second-hand clothes business, sellers of unique traditional fabrics popular among Senegalese for special occasions and weekends say that their businesses have not been affected. The traders buy their supply from tailors who, according to the UN, from the country's single largest informal production sector. The clothes makers use imported fabric to produce both African and European-style clothing. Second-hand clothing is modern compared to traditional clothing that are worn at ceremonies on Fridays. Male so that women wear them, and even the Christians on Friday wear traditional boo-boos. That's why there is no competition with the second-hand clothing. UN figures show that about 24,000 people work in the second-hand clothing sector in Senegal.
Well, you see that the Senegalese market may not be as advanced as the rest of the world, but then again, if they do have that particular concept placed there, that itself is a step towards advancement, because at the end of the day, if it fits well and if it looks good, you might as well buy it, and that's what they're doing. They're making use of what they can, which is a remarkable thing in my opinion. Now, we tend to look at like lots of movies which come up, and the current stuff, what's just being released out there. But sometimes we focus on the movies that are coming up to an extent that we sometimes forget about the really good box office releases in the past, to an extent that we may have missed them. So here at Good Morning Sri Lanka, what we also try to do is we try to remind you of a few things if you've missed them, some stuff that you need to actually check out. So I'm going to play a movie trailer to you, and which is actually a 2012 release. It was a movie that was talked about a lot. It was with the famous actors Christian Bale, Gary Oldman, Tom Hardy, and of course directed by Christopher Nolan. Now, if you watch it, you would know what the movie is for sure. So I'm going to give you a moment. Any guesses? Think to yourself. Yes, if you've guessed it right, it is The Dark Knight Rises. So just to give you a little recap on that particular movie, it is a must-watch if you haven't watched it yet. So this was the 2012 release, which we would like to remind you again. Have a look at